Welcome to the OMG Talk podcast with Paul Finkelstein. Great advice and talk with small business owners, workaholics, and whiz-bang entrepreneurs. Here's your host, Paul Finkelstein.
OMG Biz Cafe Toastmaster Event of the Day. What's a mock demo OMG Biz Cafe Toastmasters Event of the Day? Well, it's just exactly what it is. It's a mock event, so you can get the flavor of what the format is and the agenda for an OMG Biz Cafe Toastmaster event and what that's going to be all about, because there are so many components to it. You're going to want to see a little bit what it's about, because when you first come in, it might sound like a bit of a foreign language. There's some buzzwords that Toastmasters say and do that might seem like a foreign language, just like joining any organization, any networking organization, any educational organization, any class. So we'll start off with the president, and he'll make some remarks. Well, since our club doesn't have a president yet, you're going to see me playing all the parts to a Toastmaster meeting or an event. So that's going to sound like that I am at the post office, I'm the plumber, I am at the gym, I am the accountant, I'm the financial planner. You know, in real life, that a jack of all trades is a master at none. But since I've gone to Toastmasters meetings for every week for 7 years in a row, and I just jotted down some notes, I think maybe I could give you a mock demo of a OMG Biz Cafe Toastmaster event, because we're looking for 20 charter members that are business leaders from all different kinds of companies, small, medium, and large, all around the world in 149 different countries, or I dare say 197 different countries can participate in our meetings, as long as you have some Wi-Fi and can get into our meeting, since it's online in the cloud. At our event will take place at omgtalk.com. So, with that being said, I, the president, will lead us all in the Pledge of Allegiance. And why am I doing that, since we are represented in 197 different countries, and all those countries have their own Pledge of Allegiance? But Toastmasters International was founded in the United States of America by Ralph Smedley over 100 years ago. And being that Toastmasters is in 149 different countries, and I'm dedicating and honoring Ralph Smedley for the over 100 years of communication, education to all people of all walks of life, whether they're in a small business, medium, or large business, or just individuals looking to better their career, or perhaps they're already retired and they're in an assisted living community and they just want to have a sense of purpose and bring people together for storytelling. So there's all kinds of reasons why somebody would want to be involved in the OMG Biz Cafe Toastmasters Club, which is a service that we're making available to everybody in our community. We can generally shoot for about 25 members in our club, but we'll hold as many as we could possibly have. So don't worry if it gets to be 100 people or 30 people or 10. It's perfectly fine for that. But since the founding, and the very first founding over 100 years ago, and Ralph Smedley, in honor of you, we're going to lead our meeting here today with the Pledge of Allegiance. And that goes something like this. Everybody, you're welcome to stand and put your right hand over your heart and say with me, I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, everybody clap, because in between speakers, we clap for everybody, because it's actually one of the places, a laboratory for public speaking and communication and leadership skills, where we get instant recognition, and you'll find that that applause is really helpful when you're going to be speaking in front of a client or in front of an audience or anywhere around the world, one-to-one or just a simple conference room. So I now, as president, I'm going to pass over the meeting to the Toastmaster of the day, or Toastmaster of the evening, or Toastmaster of the afternoon, Well, they will lead our meeting for us, and usually the meeting will last for approximately an hour to an hour and a half. So please plan on that, up to an hour and a half or an hour. Sometimes we can get done sooner if there's less speakers. We like to have 3 speakers per meeting, and you might wonder where these speeches come from. Well, we have actually 13 different leadership pathways where the speeches come from. So there are projects that are now in PDF form that makes it easy to be able to get to all of our contestants or members or guests from all over the world, and could get a PDF to them so they could work on it and prepare their speeches at least a week and a half. But never hurts to be prepared to do a speech on short notice, because sometimes cancellations do happen. So please help me welcome the Toastmaster of the day, Paul Finkelstein. Yay! And you guys could all be clapping for him. Thank you so much. So as a Toastmaster of the day for OMG Biz Cafe Toastmaster Club, our mock meeting here, there's going to be 3 different parts to every single OMG Biz Cafe event. The first part's going to be prepared speakers. The second part, B, is going to be impromptu practice. And the last part of the third part is going to be evaluations, where we learn what we did great and what can be improved upon, right? So that will be our evaluation section of the meeting. Now, I can't do this meeting without some helpers, and that is, and I remember this by TAG, the acronym TAG. TAG, T stands for timer, the A stands for counter, and 3, the G stands for grammarian or word grammarian. And I'll explain those, but I don't have to explain those because, of course, I am jack of all trades, master of none, or master of all for running a Toastmaster meeting. And the timer will stand up, although you can't see me, and I will say that my duties as timer. In our meeting, we'll have somebody else be the helper, and they're going to say this. My job as timer is to keep track of all different parts of our meeting. Pretty simple. Number 2, the counter will stand up, and their job is to stand up and say, or sit down or stand up in their chair and say, my job is to keep track of filler words, because sometimes when people use filler words, they might not be aware of it, but what they're really doing is they're wondering what they're going to say next, and what tends to come out of their mouth at that point, if there's not been some preparation or they're not used to some impromptu talking, they might end up spitting out some ahs and ums and likes and you knows, and they don't mean to say that, but it does fill up some time, and they can really make some better impact with their speeches and impromptu speeches by getting rid of those filler words. It's no joke when your filler words are using up your time. And number 3, the grammarian will say, my job is to keep track of the use of the language during the meeting, sometimes the English language, sometimes other language, but our meetings are in English, so use of the English language and phrases and interesting phrases. Like, for instance, maybe perhaps somebody is saying use guys. Use guys is not one word. It really is 2 words, you and guys. So we'll keep track of that and make people better communicators, confident, and excellent speakers and impromptu speakers, and evaluations too. You'll become better at that as well. So why don't we bring up our first speaker? Our first speaker is Paul Finkelstein. And what is Paul Finkelstein going to be talking about today? He's actually going to talk about Monday motivation, and his topic is, well, I won't disclose this topic yet, because to properly introduce the speaker, we want to actually in advance know a little bit about the speaker, because it just set the speaker up for a wonderful speech. The speeches are actually timed, by the way, so we will defer to the timer of the meeting, and they will tell us the parameters for the time. Now, in the meeting, you'll see actually a green card, a yellow card, and a red card, and the speeches will be from 5 minutes to 6 minutes to 7 minutes, 5 to 7 minutes, so 6 minutes on average, of which 5 minutes, the timer will say that at 5 minutes, the green card will go up, at 6 minutes, the yellow card will go up, and at 7 minutes, the red card will go up, and then you'll have 30 seconds to wrap up. Then the timer sits down, brings it back over to the Toastmaster of the day. Of course, then we'll finish introducing the speaker. We'll say that this particular speaker has started to run marathons later in life, way after high school, way after college, and decided he loves it. And he loves training, and he still loves training for anything, but loves training for marathons, and actually doing a nice jog, because it's not the speed that really counts in preparation for a marathon, but although sometimes it does in the training, but most of the time it's endurance, and you just want to be on your legs because your legs don't, care if you do it slow or you do it fast, as long as you just do it. And that particular speaker is Paul Finkelstein. So help me bring up Paul Finkelstein. Everybody give Paul a round of applause, as he's actually going to be talking about more life, how to have more life for anybody, whether you're a small business owner, a medium business owner, or a large business owner, or just an individual trying to better their career. Hi, everybody. I'm Paul Finkelstein. Thank you so much for introducing me. I can't get a better introduction than that as well. I am so glad to be here at OMG Biz Cafe, this mock demo meeting for OMG Biz Cafe Toastmaster meeting. I am just going to give the one and only speech for today, so that this doesn't drag on to about a 90-minute mock meeting of just hearing one person. Although it would be fun as well to do all the parts and have the best organization I possibly have, so you definitely have to multitask for sure. I was just reading a book about having more life, how to have a better life, how to have the best life you've ever had. And it actually talked about different keys for success. You guys realize that in order to be the best in your field, how many people here, by a show of hands, perhaps when need to be a psychologist? Because when you're a psychologist, you actually are a good listener. And how many people in their fields know that they need to be a good listener? Because if you're a good listener, you actually are in the role of a psychologist, not so much in the professional sense and having a PhD and all that, but being a good listener really counts. And if you need to brush up on your listening skills, you'll want to volunteer for the timer, the yaw counter, and the grammarian, because those skills definitely will make you a better listener. I also discovered that in order to have a better life, everybody could use do better in the self-esteem area. I mean, how many people do you know of? If you notice that there are people that just whine and complain all the time, and there are some people that are just sipping wine and enjoying life. And there's only two different ways to spell wine, W-I-N-E and W-H-I-N-I-N-G. One of them sounds exciting and relaxing, and the other one could sound draining. So if maybe perhaps somebody, is showing their self-esteem lacking a little bit, maybe perhaps there's another technique or key to success that I was reading in this great book, Cybernetics, that talked about the switch. And so many of us, that switch, it just flicks really fast, and your mood changes really fast by the flick of a switch. And if your mood is being flicked back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and it's just testing you, where those people are just testing you, whoever those people are, perhaps maybe it's time. It is possible to actually shift your focus to what? All your problems can go away with a huge dream. What's a huge dream? One that's bigger than all the dreams you've ever achieved in your entire life is a huge dream, can solve just about all of your problems. Well, so let's see. There are some other comments that I got from this book. It talks about that your dream or being comfortable, or your dream and mediocrity. And it talked about some other great things like having a definite purpose or a dream. Sometimes also it mentioned in this book, Cybernetics, that we just need to fill our belief tank a little bit more. Just a little bit more. Just not to be topped off like you top off your gas tank. And also, another wonderful section I got from Cybernetics was the good stuff in is the good stuff out versus garbage in and garbage out. You have a car and you might flush your transmission, but how many miles do you have to go before there's so much garbage that goes through your car that you have to really truly give your transmission in your car a transmission flush? But how often do you give your brain a flush? Meaning flush out the garbage. Now, you wouldn't have to flush out the garbage if it's good stuff in and good stuff out. But if you're doing garbage in, it's time for the garbage out. You don't have to keep it in there, right? And how do you get it out? Read the good stuff, and then you get the good stuff out. So that was another great point that I got from Cybernetics. It's a wonderful book by Maxwell Maltz. Now, I read something that was fascinating in this book about having success instincts. Animals, they don't have the same creative imagination that us humans have. Literally, animals like the squirrel knows that winter's coming and they better collect nuts. The animals know that. They know every year winter's coming and they better collect some nuts. But sometimes man forgets that winter's coming and they haven't collected those nuts. And so the comfort zone exists, and perhaps maybe they're not prepared as they were last year for winter. Perhaps they're not ready and they're in shape enough to use that shovel and shovel that snow. Or maybe they moved to Florida because they didn't want that situation. So whether you're in Florida or not, it's really not the point. The point is that having instinct for success. We're not animals. We're humans. And, well, humans are humans. We have a switch that we sometimes get flicked too much because of mood and emotion. And life happens while you make other plans. But we're not here to make excuses for us or anybody, but we're here to suggest that maybe perhaps a huge dream is so important so that nothing shakes your tree. What does shaking your tree mean? Well, it's just an expression. I bet the word grammarian is listening attentively right now to the fact that not to have anything shake your tree. And what does that mean? Does that translate in every language of listening to us around the world? But I do suggest everybody have a huge dream, no matter what age you are. I'm pretty sure that multitasking, I went over my limit about 5 minutes or 6 minutes. I'm probably up on my 7th minute, of which I'm long overdue for my 30 seconds to wrap up. And usually a meeting, we want 3 speakers to be able to have time to speak. So I'm going to, in conclusion for this particular speech about having more life, you've got to read this book, because if you don't read Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz, you probably might be fighting with mediocrity, might be too comfortable. You might be in your comfort zone. And I did hear that life is exciting when you're outside your comfort zone. And if you too want more life, see me, Paul Finkelstein, and I'll get you a copy of this book. Well, at least tell you where to get it. All right, because I do have a couple of copies of this, so you're locally to Florida, I could probably flip a copy over to you. So back to you, Toastmaster of the Day. Thanks so much for the opportunity for this, and I can't wait for you to introduce a general evaluator who introduces the evaluator to tell me how I did with this speech. Hey, everybody, this is Toastmaster Paul over here, and thank you so much. Let's give Paul Finkelstein a round of applause for talking about his speech, the marathon runner who talks about having more life. Thanks so much, Paul. I could just hear the applause right now. And now we would generally introduce other speakers and introduce them and then introduce their title of their speech, then have them come up on stage and have them come here into the auditorium at OMG Biz Cafe Toastmaster Meeting, mock Toastmaster Meeting, or Toastmaster Meeting. So I can't wait till we have 20 charter members in this club here at OMG Biz Cafe. That being said, I have to bring up on stage the general evaluator who will introduce the evaluator. So please help me welcome general evaluator Paul Finkelstein. Hello, everybody. I am listening to the round of applause. I'm the general evaluator for the day. It's really great to be here. And the general evaluator, the whole point of this is to really introduce the evaluators, not do a lot of kibitzing and talk. And the purpose of the evaluation is to help people improve, start on a high note, give one tip to improve, and end on a high note, not really call out a lot of mistakes that the speaker did, not really evaluate the content of the message, but really the technique and how they delivered the message is the most important part of the evaluation. So you'll get some true feedback, not the content, because we're all not experts if everybody's speaking here today. Somebody may be, But, if you are a mad scientist and we have a speaker that's talking about mad scientists and you're the general evaluator and you know the way mad scientists should talk, then perhaps you could say that for another meeting, because our job is not to say if they're a great mad scientist or not, just how they delivered the message. So let's bring up the evaluator. I'm the general evaluator. I'm going to bring up the evaluator who's going to tell us how Paul Finkelstein's speech worked out, called More Life. And let's bring up the evaluator, Paul Finkelstein. Hello, everybody. It's me again, Paul Finkelstein, the evaluator, and we're going to be evaluating our speaker, Paul Finkelstein. I love the fact that Mr. Finkelstein was very enthusiastic. I loved his pace. Maybe for some people, it might have been a little bit too fast. You see, pace, vocal variety, high and low, and speed sometimes are great in some parts of the country. In other parts, it takes a little while to absorb the material. So it's good to add in a pregnant pause every now and then, right in your speaking. That means to leave some space, where there's silence in between some of the talk. Now, I heard that 55% of a talk is nonverbal, so I'd expect there to be some gestures. Now, if there's a big audience and you're online, you probably don't need to use a lot of gestures because you're confined to the screen size that your audiences have. If their screen size is a cell phone, you probably don't need to use a big gesture. Little gesture is okay, just a thumbs up perhaps. If you're on a tablet, you can use a little bit more of a gesture. And if you're on a big TV in somebody's house, you could use some of those big gestures because it's going to fill up their whole TV, right? So 38% is tone of voice and how you made the audience feel. And Paul, I love listening to you because you always make me feel very enthusiastic. You have lots of energy. And what else? And 7% is the content. So, I did enjoy the content because, I'm a big reader of cybernetics, psycho-cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz, and I really could appreciate the information you said. Now I can say, what is the one area that I think you could improve, Paul? Well, being that this is on audio and nobody in the audience could see us, perhaps, maybe, Paul, you might be more attentive to the fact that these people cannot see you. But I think you were pretty conscious that this was an audio and people couldn't see you, so you probably weren't using too many gestures to worry about whether they understood your communication skills on the audio, on the podcast level. And if anybody wants to re-listen to this, I'm sure they could find it by going into Apple Podcast or your Spotify podcast, any of your favorite podcasts, and just typing in OMG space BIZ. That's OMG space BIZ. And you can re-listen to this mock Toastmaster meeting for OMG Biz Cafe that is going to be meeting in a future meeting when we decide upon the time that this Toastmaster Club is going to meet and when we have 20 charter members. All right. So thank you, Paul, for speaking today. I look forward to hearing you go through the two pathways and work towards your distinguished Toastmaster. And going through two pathways, you'll have plenty of projects, maybe over 50 speeches that I look forward to hearing you do. And you'll also learn so much from doing the table topic impromptu as well. Now, I'm going to actually turn the meeting back over to the Toastmaster of the day, and they're going to introduce the table topics section of the meeting. And generally, we'll do the table topics before the general evaluator and the evaluations because we want the general evaluator to evaluate the entire portion of the meeting, including the table topics, of which I realized that I did not do this section. So I want you guys to get the flavor for what table topics is like. It won't be an entire true impromptu speech because if you're running the entire meeting, you're playing all the characters yourself and there's 100 people in the room and you're every character, it's kind of hard to do it impromptu. But there is one way to do it. Proof of that might be another story. But the one way to do it is I actually have a box of table topics. And I just have to pick a card out of it. But you can't see me do that. So there's no way to prove that I'm just planning this in advance. But just imagine I'm picking a topic. I don't know what it is, but I'm not picking it. But I am picking it as the table topics master. And I'm going to call upon every person in here, including guests, will get a chance to talk for 1 minute. And table topics master will invite up the timer to tell us the parameters of table topics. And of course, also the general evaluator would also call up the timer and tell us the parameters as well. which generally the evaluators will talk for 1 to 2 minutes in evaluations. The timer would say 1 minute, the green light, 1.5 minutes, the yellow light, and 2 minutes, the red light, and they'll have 30 seconds to wrap up for evaluations. And then the table topics master will say 1 to 2 minutes as well, 1 minute minimum for a table topic for an impromptu speech, 1.5 minutes for the yellow light, and 2 minutes for the red light, and 30 seconds to wrap up. So now, as table topic master, I'm going to bring up Paul Finkelstein. Hello, Paul. Come on up here. Give Paul a round of applause. And we're going to give you, actually, we're not going to give you anything. Right now, Paul, go sit down. All right. We don't know who we're going to call. Yes, we know who we're going to call. It's Paul for everything, but we can make up another name and say it's George. And George, come on up here, because I'm going to, but no, I can't call up George yet, because whoever is table topics master, this is a great lesson to make out of this. You're going to actually say the topic first, and then you're going to call up Paul or George. They won't know which one it is after you say the topic, and then you're going to call up the person. Then there'll be truly an impromptu talk. So, how do you get more out of life? How do you get more out of life? Come up, Paul Finkelstein. Oh, thank you so much, Table Topics Master, most welcome guests and fellow Toastmasters and business people as well. How in the Lord do you get more out of life? I'm trying to just do the best I can, I'm working at my job. I work 9 to 5. And I do whatever my boss says. I come home. I get a check every 2 weeks. I'm so tired. And what do I do at work? Sometimes when you're a brand new guest to a meeting, it's good to talk about your work, because that makes it easy for one of your first couple of times that you're doing some speeches, and that will break you into a Toastmaster club. And one of your first speeches actually is an introductory speech, like an icebreaker. And you're kind of telling us about your job and things like that. We allow that. Why not? So to get more out of life, though, I don't know if I've ever really thought about that, but I think the best way to get more out of life is to have a dream. And if you have a dream that's so darn big, you won't be looking at your problems, other people's problems, or anything that hurts or negativity that might seep into your head, like fear of success and things like that. So if you have a big, huge dream, that's how I would suggest how to get more out of life. Thank you. And everybody give Paul a round of applause as a table topic master. And this concludes our table topic session. We have no other table topic contestants, because it's only Paul in the room, being Toastmaster of the day and general evaluator and president and all the above and all these good things. So what we're going to do is we're going to vote for the best table topic contestant or member of OMG Biz Cafe, business leaders here, Toastmaster Club mock Toastmaster meeting, and we're going to vote. Now, if it was just more than one person besides Paul, we'd vote. If there were, 10 people that gave some impromptu talks for about 1 minute, and you'll all send in your vote to the table topic master. That table topic master of the day will give their cell phone number out, and we'll all text them at the end of the table topic session. Whoever has the most votes, we'll save that for the end of the meeting. When the Toastmaster of the day, you want to text back to table topic master, to the Toastmaster, whoever it is, of the day, and they will announce the award, and there will be an award for table topics, the best table topic, and the best evaluator as well. Well, this has been a great meeting, and I stayed on track mostly. There was just a couple of swerves and weaves in there. It's about the 28-minute mark for a really quickie mock Toastmaster meeting. I hope you enjoyed it. If you're currently a Toastmaster, please forgive me if it was in a rush and you heard one person do every single role. But you know what? You should try it. It was fun, and it gets you to see all over again all the Toastmaster positions and titles and roles that you can do, and it helps you know the significance for all of them as well. I hope you guys sign up to be a charter member, one of the charter members. We need 20 charter members to start this club at omgtalk.com. If you're interested, come as a guest to our business club as well at 10 o'clock Eastern during the week, or 4:20 during the week as well, or Saturdays.
Hey everyone! Get ready to dive into the excitement at OMG Biz Cafe. We're thrilled to announce our amazing live talk show, broadcasting right from the stunning Skylarverse pool deck, beachside. Join us on weekdays at 10 a.m. for insightful conversations and special guests. And don't miss Strong Beginnings every Saturday at 8 a.m. It's the perfect way to kickstart your weekend. See you there.